with comedian Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. So, the more I read, the more I'm starting to think that nationalism and socialism are virtually indistinguishable from one another. Like, a lot of the time socialism comes into a country is because the people of that country want to take control of the natural resources back from foreign ownership. Not even just foreign ownership, corporate ownership, oligarchical ownership, elite ownership. So the people of that country feel like they have a right to the resources of the country they were born and raised in, and most likely their ancestors grew up in. Like, let's hypothesize for a tick, for a minute. Let's just say, let's take America. Let's just say the Chinese bribed a bunch of officials. Some politicians, fucking corporates, whoever they need to. Just someone to fucking change the law and allow foreign ownership of, let's say, farmland. Okay. So let's say the Chinese came in and bought up all the farmland in the US. And then instead of selling the produce from the farmland in the US, they shipped it back to China. You would think eventually the people of the US would get fucking pissed at that. And you can imagine even further that one day they would want to get rid of the Chinese and take the farmland back, nationalize the farmland, kick the Chinese out and nationalize the farmland, give it back to the people. That would be considered socialism. It sort of seems like nationalism too. Hey, we live here. This is our land. Shouldn't we eat from our fucking land? Anyway, I bring this up because I was reading about something I had no idea about until about a week ago when I read it on pretty much the only fucking account I read on X now. On Twitter. Fuck X. It's the only reason I open Twitter anymore. I've fucking whittled it down to one dude, and he has a private account, so you have to fucking add him and then wait for once a month. I think he lets in like 100 people, and then he sporadically posts, maybe once every 5 days, and then he'll go on a bender and post every day for 6 days. But it is so fucking bang on. His name's Evan Writes on X, and it's fucking amazing. And I was reading about the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund. I knew nothing about it, but the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund is the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world. And what a sovereign wealth fund is, basically, governments create like a savings fund from the sale of their oil, their natural resources. It's usually an oil fund, like there's a Saudi Arabian one, there's a UAE, all that sort of shit. But the Norwegian one's the biggest. And what happened was the big US fucking oil companies were drilling all around the world back in the 60s. And they were like, hey, Norway, can we check out fucking your ocean and see if there's any fucking oil down there? And they just happened to stumble across an absolutely gigantic pool of oil in Norway's seas. It was an American petroleum company called Phillips Petroleum. Now, what usually happens next is the petroleum company takes a whole shitload of money and buys off the politicians, the lawmakers, the elite, and they get the rights to the oil and give the country fuck all. And so the only people who end up making money are a small group of people in the country, let's say Norway, and the big multinational companies. But in this case, in the Norway case, that didn't happen. The petroleum companies went in and started trying to bribe people in Norway, and they couldn't. There was a couple of honest politicians out there. I barely know their names, but Brundtland and Bertelli were a couple of the fucking heroic politicians' names who refused to accept bribes and bow. And what they did was, instead of fucking letting the multinational companies eat up all the profits, they taxed the extraction of that oil at 78 cents per dollar. So for every dollar of oil that was taken from the Norwegian sea, the Norwegian government got 78 cents of it. And that's fine in itself, but they also did something else that was quite amazing. They decided, we're not going to spend it. What we're going to do is we're going to save it, because eventually that oil's going to run out and we need to secure the future for our country and our people. So they decided to put it in the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund, and they began saving it and investing it. And that's great too. But that's not the only thing. They wrote a law that said, we're not going to spend any of this oil money. What we're going to do is we are only going to withdraw 3% of the profits this wealth fund generates each year from interest and investments. And we're going to use that 3% to pay for our citizens' education, social security, university, obviously, healthcare, all of it. Now, because they've made these series of decisions and only withdrawing 3% a year, they have not spent a single cent of the money deposited into that sovereign wealth fund from the oil sales. And now this fund is worth $2 trillion. There's $2 trillion in the fucking Norwegian sovereign wealth fund, and they own 1.5% of every single company on earth. It's the most powerful fucking fund on earth. Now, let's just say people want to start fucking with Norway. Let's just say a country goes, no, we're going to take it from you. Norway now has the power to crash any market around the world. So the best thing to do is leave Norway the fuck alone. So these series of decisions have given it some semblance of independence. Also, it has made their population, their citizens, wealthy, because each individual Norwegian citizen owns part of this fund, which now equates to $370,000 per Norwegian. And now that the fund's at almost $2 trillion, 3% of $2 trillion is $60 billion a year. They can withdraw and put towards the Norwegian budget, which can pay for virtually all of, not all, but I think it covers like 25% of the entire budget. That's just from one fucking pool of oil in the Norwegian Ocean. Now, let's use our imagination and think what might have been possible if, let's say, a sovereign wealth fund was created in Australia for the sale of iron ore or natural gas or gold or fucking anything or any country. Coal, oil, fucking, it's everywhere. What would have been possible if the politicians of these other countries had made a stand like the politicians of Norway back in the day. Who knows? Who fucking knows? Anyway, I thought that was fucking interesting story. That'll do for tonight, and I'll see you the fuck later.